The water
Okay.
was particularly important because I had coffee
Yes,
this morning. And I said, oh, gotta have the water after the
you
coffee.
have to hydrate.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the numbers have slowed down, so I am going to get started and do the introduction. So first of all, welcome everybody to the second session of our 8-week series responding to the needs of lawyers who may be feeling the impact of the rapidly changing landscape in the world and the legal profession. Today's presentation, The Fulfillment Formula, Assessing Your Legal Career, is in response to attorneys who are in transition in their career, but really anyone who wants to find that fulfillment in their profession. Emily Hirsekorn, a career leadership coach, will be our speaker for today, and I will introduce her momentarily. First, my name is Amy Levine, the Director of Programs and Volunteers here at Lawyers Concern for Lawyers, and I will be your host. As a reminder, LCL helps the legal community with mental health, substance misuse, well-being, and law practice management. Housekeeping tips, we love and encourage questions, and Emily will also be doing some potential interactive questions. And if you could use the chat or Q&A functions for that. And now I am very honored to present Emily. As I mentioned, she is a career leadership coach for lawyers. She does career development coaching, executive coaching, leadership development, life coaching, corporate training, and public speaking. She is credentialed with the ICF, which is the gold standard in the industry, and is certified with the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and helps to maximize lawyer performance, influence, and develop fulfillment without burning out or compromising their values with her 4-step framework, which we're going to learn about today. She received her JD from the University of the Pacific McGeorge School of Law, where she graduated Order of the Coif. She also has been an adjunct professor and a career advisor at the University of San Diego School of Law. And for her full bio, I encourage you to read about her on our website and also view her LinkedIn page. And without further ado, I will hand it off to Emily.
Thank you so much, Amy. I am thrilled to be here. I am going to go ahead and share my screen so we can go ahead and get started. And uh, we've got a program today that, as Amy mentioned, is designed to be interactive. We will see how much we have going on live, but I will tell you this too. Please have something that you're prepared to take notes on and write on, because everybody's going to be leaving with your own personal action plan. Okay, I am thrilled to be sharing my signature framework with you, which I have designed specifically to help lawyers maximize career success and fulfillment. So you are in the right place. A couple more notes on process before we get started. Please also be ready to type in the chat box. We'll see if folks are ready to show up. I know it's Friday, maybe the afternoon for some folks already. So no worries if you're just hanging in there. And again, be ready to take some notes, and then please follow up afterwards with any questions that don't get answered today. Always available for that. Okay. A little bit more about me. I think it is very important that anyone supporting you really understands the legal field, what it's like to juggle many things, as I'm sure you are doing yourself, and is also leading both a career they're proud of and a personal life they're proud of, and ultimately has successfully navigated transitions. Before coaching full time, like Amy mentioned, I was working at the University of San Diego School of Law in career and professional development and was the attorney advisor. So I have been working in this field for 11 years now. And really, why I pursued a coaching career, I was supporting so many lawyers and law students and realized everyone needed more support. We were helping folks get a job, but a lot of lawyers then struggled with performance, engagement, and fulfillment once they got into those roles. So I became a certified professional coach to help lawyers address everything affecting their success on a deeper level. I am uniquely trained in energy leadership with IPEC, which Amy mentioned, and I have a wealth of leadership resources specifically designed to help you minimize energy drains and maximize your personal performance. Really, really interesting stuff. So we'll be talking more about this with the fourth pillar of our framework today. And lastly, just so you know how I help folks, I offer organizational leadership academies for emerging leaders, corporate workshops, and one-on-one coaching. Who am I? Just like you are much more than a lawyer. I have many facets to my identity beyond coach. In just a bit, we're going to be talking about really thinking about who you are, reconnecting with who you are at your core and what you care most about in life, bringing the personal and professional into alignment. So it's important to highlight all aspects of our identity. Plus, when we talk about work-life balance, it often includes spending time with loved ones and doing things we enjoy and care about outside of work. So today I'm sharing with you some of my personal secrets to success that I use on a regular basis across these different facets of my life to maximize my own energy and success, and that countless other lawyers have used to change their lives too. Here's what we're doing today. Program outcomes. What are you walking away with? You will, number one, explore 4 common reasons lawyers feel unfulfilled. I am certain that at least some of these are going to resonate. Number 2, learn 4 strategies to enhance career fulfillment. Every single program I offer has to be practical. Very, very important for me. So we're not only talking about ideas. Oh, number 2 is happy birthday, by the way. Still haven't figured that out, but there we go. Very, very important for me to make this practical for you. And number 3, personalizing these strategies to your career and identifying specific actions that you can take immediately and or in the event of a career transition to enhance fulfillment. So for a minute, I want to pause and let's think about this. Why attorneys feel unfulfilled. Many reasons may come up, but I have seen the same concerns popping up time and time again over the past 11 years. And I have lumped them into 4 categories that form the basis of the framework we're going to be exploring in just a minute. Number 1, misalignment with values or goals, losing sight of the bigger picture, purpose, or possibilities. It's so interesting to me how a lot of folks who are not in the legal field assume that lawyers all select their job, they have their dream job and go after it, and that's what we end up doing. Having worked in a career office at a law school, and specifically with respect to employment reporting after graduation, I know that is not the case for many lawyers, if not most. People kind of fall into a job or they pursue something that they think is success, only to find it's misaligned later on. So that's number 1. Number 2, self-doubt. And this shows up in different ways across the span of our career. Early career lawyers, we tend to not know what we're doing. And we don't know exactly how to figure that out. It's frustrating. I always say it's a perfect storm when you put really smart people in a situation where they don't know what they're doing. And then mid-career, we may be switching to a new job and having that feeling come up again, or assuming leadership responsibilities without the support, without leadership development or training. This is something new all over again. And then just generally, self-doubt and imposter syndrome can hit really hard in this industry that so often demands perfection and excellence. Number 3, failure to take proper care of yourself or overworking. This industry is notorious for that. Interestingly enough, for folks who are service oriented, like many of you may be, We also can see compassion fatigue, even for folks who aren't technically in a service career. Let's say it's more of a corporate legal job, we still see a lot of people who are taking care of everybody else and their work, maybe their team, if in a leadership role, at the expense of themselves and not prioritizing themselves, feeling like maybe that's selfish to prioritize themselves. So that's number three. And then number four, performance issues. Things like procrastination, poor time management, distraction, not being as productive and effective as you can be. Okay, so several different reasons we see attorneys feeling unfulfilled. This is where the Career Leadership Code framework comes in. Again, I created this framework specifically to address these challenges that I was seeing time and time again. I'll sum up here again before we identify the different pillars of the framework: misalignment with values or goals, self-doubt, failure to take proper care of yourself or overworking, and performance-related issues. So here's the framework. I like to tell folks in these programs, feel free to take a screenshot if you like a good visual. Think this diagram is interesting. There's a slightly more detailed version coming up, just to let you know. But here we are, so we can really see what we're talking about and how it all works together. So what we've done so far is identified 4 categories of challenges. Now we're going to walk through the Career Leadership Code framework, which offers solutions. So 2 sides to the same coin. As a coach, I'm a big fan of reframing in the positive. Can be very, very helpful when we're thinking about what we want more of. So first, we're going to review the 3 core pillars you see here. Then we will touch on what I like to call the secret sauce to maximizing success, performance management. And then third, we're going to workshop the framework. Okay, that's where we make this really applicable to your own personal career goals. And then you will walk away with 4 personal commitments for the coming month. Okay, so we've got clarity, balance, and confidence. Let's break these down. Number 1, career clarity. On these slides, you're going to see some descriptions of what this looks like ultimately. Then we'll talk about some common mistakes we see. You know who you are and what you want. It is so common for lawyers to say, I have forgotten who I really am. Or when people ask what I do for fun, I hate that question. I'm a lawyer. Or just letting go of those personal things to exclusively be focusing on the career. Career clarity means you know your values, you are setting value aligned goals. I suggest if you're going to do this exercise, setting 12-month goals, then setting 6-month goals to put you on the right track to achieve those 12-month goals, and then identifying immediate actions you can take to put you on track to getting to those 6-month goals. This is another way to think about it: personal and professional alignment. You are one person throughout the day. So a lot of people are talking about this now, even talking about this idea of work-life integration, right? How do we make sure what we're doing is really fueling us personally and not cutting against our values? And then ultimately here, you're making conscious career choices. This is so much of what I support folks with. I have no doubt you can make choices and decisions on your own. And we want to make sure you're considering all of the things that matter at the end of the day, and you're not going to be looking back with regret. So a couple of mistakes we see with career clarity. Number 1, pursuing a career based on other people's definition of success instead of yours or your personal values and what you care about. This is so common. Why? Well, in law school, we get told a lot of things from the school from the career services office. I've been there, I know firsthand. And of course, I went through this myself. I always say I was never encouraged to pursue different public service or government opportunities when I was in law school. All I had my eyes on was these firms. And I really regret that. I wish I had some sort of externship that could have given me a little bit more insight into different paths. So very, very common. Our parents put information into our heads about what success is, society, especially things like making lots of money. We think that's important. And then again, law school and the industry itself. So we want to make sure we're really clear on what we want and what success means to us. Okay. Another example of this, number one, of course, I work with a lot of lawyers who would say one of their core values is family, but they don't spend as much quality time with their family as they would like to because they're working so much. So we're out of alignment there. Number two, just going through the motions. Lots of folks talk about this like they feel like they're on the hamster wheel day in and day out. They don't feel like they have a sense of direction or purpose. A simple way to paraphrase this one, lack of intentionality. If you summed up the work that I do, it is helping people live and work more intentionally with intention. So we're being really thoughtful about how we're moving throughout our day, the choices we're making, the jobs that we're pursuing and taking, right? Really, really important. A lot of folks aren't doing this. We tend to keep our head down, just get through the day, especially when we have a demanding job, maybe a busy home life as well. That feels like success in itself, but we lift our heads up and oh shit, years have gone by. And what am I doing with my life? We don't want to be in that space asking that question. Or if we do, we want to come to this point where we're being more intentional. Okay. So, number one, career clarity. Number two, confidence. Okay, so again, these are ideas associated with success in this different pillar, the second pillar. Number one, self-confidence empowers you to fully engage at work. We a lot of times think about the second one, you pursue new opportunities and you're more likely to be successful. But also when you're in a role, you're working hard to keep. We also want to think about how confidence impacts your performance day in and day out. Really, really interesting to recognize. And then I love this idea too. When you are confident, we're also talking about confidence, trusting yourself and your team. So important. This allows you to take a vacation, right? It allows you to delegate. Lots of important results coming from feeling confident in your team. And then finally, you're more likely to advocate for what you need to be successful if you have strong confidence. So, we're going to talk in a minute about balance and those health and well being goals. You've got to feel confident in asking or setting boundaries, right? Or else it's going to be really hard to prioritize your health and well being. So, let's talk about some big mistakes with confidence. I know you all have heard something about faking it till you make it. I see a question here and I will address it in just a minute. And I love this. Please, as you think of questions, bring them up and we will get to them in just a minute. Fake it till you make it. The problem here, trying to display external confidence without doing the necessary inner work that supports true behavioral change. Really, really interesting. And number two, believing confidence just comes with experience. First of all, yes, it will come with experience, of course. But the problem here is when folks think, I can't do anything about it now. I just need to wait. Absolutely not. There are a lot of things that we can do. We'll touch on some in just a minute. There are proactive steps you can take to boost your confidence before you have a ton of experience. Okay. I do want to address this question. Do you have tips for exploring non-traditional career options to help with the clarity piece? Definitely an individual inquiry. So we're not going to get too into detail yet, but I do want you to know that what we're going to be doing here in a bit with respect to the clarity piece when we come to our action planning stage is identifying some values. And I think a lot of times when folks are considering new opportunities, they want to identify the job and then go for it. I offer a different approach. I encourage folks to think about the fundamentals. So, your values, what's most important to you, maybe your desired day, desired lifestyle, and then we can consider a variety of opportunities and see what's in alignment. Okay, so again, we'll get there in a little bit, but very, very important. Lots of other things we could discuss. Please follow up with me, Michelle, if you want to have a bigger conversation about this as it applies to your situation. Okay, let's go on. Pillar 3, work-life balance. We're talking about sustainable success. So let's just think about the first two. If you have those in place, you have a clear sense of direction and you're ready to go after opportunities with confidence, wonderful, gets you to a successful spot. And we need balance to sustain your success long term. Very, very important. Also, if you are in transition right now and looking for a job, I like to say this is important to sustain your energy throughout the job search and transition process, which a lot of folks are not thinking about. As you probably know, looking for a job is like a part-time job or a full-time job. So we want to make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can sustain your energy and also be as successful as possible with the application and interview process. Okay. I'm just checking the chat box. Thank you so much, Amy. Talking about resources. Great. So let's talk about some mistakes with work-life balance. Number 1, having an outdated definition of balance. What are we talking about here? When this phrase first came out, someone was putting out there that we should sleep 8 hours, we should work 8 hours, and we have 8 hours for our personal life or to do other things, non-work things. This is outdated, okay? Not a clear formula, a single formula for everyone. So important. I preach constantly that so much of what we need to do is define success for ourselves, come up with our own definition of work-life balance. So what I like to say is thinking about you spending your time where you want, how you want to spend it. In other words, I'll just use myself as an example. When I launched my business, guess what? I had to work a little bit extra, right? That's just part of what it entails to launch a business and run it on your own. And initially, I was working a day job as well. So by no means was I thinking, oh, I'm working long hours, I have no work-life balance. No, I found other ways to take care of myself and spend time with my kids and my husband. But it was important for me at the time to work longer hours, and that was fine. Okay. Lots of lawyers have that experience too. We just want to make sure you don't feel like you're missing out. Okay. So it can go either way, where you feel like you're missing out in your personal life or professionally. So coming up with your own definition of how you want to spend your time. Big mistake number 2, setting unrealistic goals with poor follow through. How many of you have set a health or well-being goal and not followed through? I mean, think about those New Year's resolutions. So common, right? So we want to make sure that you're figuring out what's a realistic stretch goal for you. What's blocking your success? Why are you not following through? Addressing those blocks, putting accountability in place, and regularly recalibrating over time. Lots of my clients, we're doing health and well-being check-ins regularly, if not every session. I might just ask them, what's one thing you're doing to take care of yourself this week? Or I had a client this week who said, oh my gosh, I've got a crazy travel schedule coming up. I said, how are you taking care of yourself while you're traveling? We've got to be thinking about this on an ongoing basis. Okay. So now that we've gone through those 3 core pillars, let's look at them again in this diagram. And we've got some additional information here. You can see all 3 are critical for maximizing career fulfillment. Let's talk about why, the risks if any one pillar is lacking. So, first of all, let's start with confidence. If we are missing confidence, we're over here in this area. You may be identifying good opportunities that are aligned with your values and goals, but you're not going after them at all. You might be saying, who am I to try to get that job? I'm never going to get it. Or maybe you do, but not showing up with confidence, you're minimizing your chances of success, right, in the interview process. You may also be avoiding asking for what you need at work. Maybe you're trying to get a promotion, but you're worried they're not going to give it to you. And so you're not pushing, you're not self advocating. Or if we're thinking about setting healthy boundaries, you may be afraid to do that. Okay, so that's why we see you remain stagnant without confidence. Number two, if you're missing the clarity piece, we're over here, back to unfulfilled. Okay, so you may just continue what you've always done without that clear direction, maybe even switching roles, but they're not the right roles. They're not aligned. So you're feeling dissatisfied time and time again. We see that happen too in this industry quite a bit. So out of alignment, ultimately, that's what's going on here. And lastly, if you're missing the work life balance piece, we're over here and risking burnout. You could have the most promising career in the world and still burn out. We simply have to round out the work that we're doing with wellness, well being, and connection to others. Really interesting research coming out on longevity, how it's good for our health to socialize. So, so interesting. So, we want to make sure we are scheduling consciously, prioritizing the things that are important to us, and setting those healthy boundaries. Okay, one more essential component, the fourth pillar. And again, I like to think of this as the secret sauce that enables you to optimize daily success: performance management. Okay, so we've talked about getting clear on what you want, and value aligned goals, going after it with confidence, sustaining your success long term with balance. Now we're talking about optimizing daily performance, optimizing your success. So, a couple of different ways to think about this: minimizing stressors and maximizing performance boosters. Okay. And very, very important to be regularly assessing the factors that impact your performance, both the limiting factors and the boosting factors. I have some additional frameworks on this. If you're interested, please let me know. Happy to send you more resources. IPEC offers 6 different factors that impact our performance: spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, environmental, and social. I'll say those again if you're a note taker like me: spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, environmental, and social. And these apply in really interesting ways to our careers. So I encourage you to consider all of these different factors as we're applying the framework in just a bit to your career, especially when we get to the performance management piece. I'll bring it up again. Okay, so we're at the workshop stage. We're going to be putting this into practice. Please, again, I encourage you, pop questions in the chat as they come up for you. Or if anything, as you're writing them down, you feel particularly inspired to share, please share what's coming up for you too. So, clarity. The basic way to think about this: pursuing value alignment. Again, highly encourage you, if you're exploring new opportunities, to start here. Okay, so you can see some different steps here on these slides. I'm going to walk you through an exercise that I really think is valuable, simple but valuable for you to walk away with today. Here's what I want you to do: make a list of 3 core values. What do I mean by that? What means the most to you in your career and life? So don't just think about work, career and life. Okay, these don't need to be different for work and personal life. Think of when you feel most fulfilled, engaged, excited, in flow? What is happening? Who are you with? What are you doing? Let this vision give you clues as to your core values. Another way to say this is, what do you need to feel fulfilled? Okay, so number one, identify a short list, 3 core values. The next part is most important. Number two, I want you to rate each value on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, in terms of how you're currently living it out. This is your action rating. With my private clients, we do this with a whole long list of different values, but let's do it with 3 today. How are you currently living these values out at work and outside of work? A 1 means not at all. A rating of 10 couldn't be better. Okay, so rate each of your value in terms of how you're living them out. 1, not at all. 10 couldn't be better. And then highlight the biggest gaps in valued living. If there's no gaps, beautiful, brilliant. You know exactly what you're doing, totally on. But otherwise, we want to be paying attention to these. Okay, so a couple of different ways we can use this information. Number one, pull out that list of values when you were pursuing new opportunities. So let's say you have a couple of different offers, you're deciding between them. Please check them against your list of core values. So I'll give you an example of how this can be helpful. Maybe I have a bunch of credit card debt that I really want to pay off, and this new job comes up and it's going to pay $500,000. I mean, a lot of money. However, it requires constant international travel. I will never see my children. Family's a core value for me. That's not going to work out. Okay. So while security is important and taking care of my family, if I never see them, I know I'm going to be miserable. So pulling out those values is going to do a little check and help my decision making. Okay. Very, very helpful tool for decision making. The second way I like to use this exercise, when you identify gaps, even if it's like a 9 out of 10, there's room for growth. Those are opportunities to set some goals. Okay, so I encourage you, identify the gaps. And then for today, how about pick one and identify one thing you can start doing, one strategy that can move you towards a 10. Okay, so I'll give you another example. Let's think baby steps, folks, reasonable goals here. Again, highly value family. Maybe I feel distracted when I'm with my family. I want to work on that. I might decide to start putting my phone away during bedtime and dinner time with my family. Baby steps, folks. Okay, so we can set these micro goals week after week to fill those gaps for better valued living. I gave you a personal example, a professional one. Okay, so let's keep going. Confidence. Let's talk strategies with confidence. The big strategy, challenge limiting thoughts. Limiting thoughts come in many forms in the workplace. Today, we're going to focus on the inner critic, the biggest confidence killer. You see limiting beliefs here. This is a really interesting one too. We can explore another day. But the inner critic, I like to call it the biggest confidence killer. It's some version of you're not good enough. So the idea here, it intends to protect you. It means well, thank you very much. But the effect or impact, it keeps you playing safe and small. And by safe, I mean in your comfort zone, not growing and not pushing yourself to reach your full potential. So really interesting to think about how it might be holding you back, the impact it could be having on you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to identify something that your inner critic frequently tells you. I'll give you a personal example. For me, new opportunities come up year after year, professional opportunities. My inner critic loves to tell me, you've never done that before, stay in your lane. There are other people who do that often, and they're qualified, you're not, stay in your lane, play safe and small. Now let's challenge it, okay? So once you identify a message that your inner critic is telling you, I want you to challenge it. Make the opposite argument and pull out supporting evidence if you can. So again, going back to my message with these new opportunities that come up, I'm going to make the argument why I'm qualified to take them, even if I've never done it before. I've done X, Y, and Z. I have a powerful presence. I can connect with the audience, whatever it may be. Okay. And maybe the evidence is even I've done new things each and every year. And thinking, how have I been successful? What about me has made that work? Really dig in here. Okay. This can be a multi layered inquiry. And then talking back to that inner critic when it shows up can help you release its hold on you. So it's not going to go away. We don't eliminate the inner critic, unfortunately, but we want to figure out how to manage it over time. Okay. That can also be helpful. When it shows up, you know what it is. I know you're here to do X, Y, and Z, and it's not happening today. And here's why. Okay. Another example here, if you want to go for a promotion or a new role, the inner critic pops up, write out all of your qualifications. What makes you a strong candidate, and recognize your accomplishments to date. We tend to go to the negative. So sometimes we have to be intentional about this exercise that pulls out what's positive. Okay. Really, really important to be managing this over time. Let's go on to balance. The strategy here, prioritize health and well-being. So here's what I want you to do. Write a short list. You can write a long list if you want, but start with a short list, okay, for time's sake, of health and well-being activities that you enjoy or would like to be doing more of. Okay? A small list of health and well-being activities you enjoy or would like to be doing more of. I guarantee most of us have some things that we're not doing. So by health, nutrition, hydration, sleep, exercise, those are the basics. What do I mean by well-being? Think spiritual, fun, socializing, passion projects, all of that stuff that's also important that isn't just fundamentally taking care of your body and your brain. I'm guessing you're not maximizing all of these, okay? So pick one on your list that you can commit to doing more of over the coming weeks. And then I want you to hold yourself accountable. So this is where we tend to fall off. Remember, with that common mistake, when will you do it? How will you do it? Who can help? How will you hold yourself accountable? So I'll tell you, a lot of folks, when I ask, when will you do something? They say, oh, by the end of the month. And I like to say, a deadline is fine. A time block is better. In other words, we're more likely to commit to doing something if we have it in our calendar. Okay, so let's say a lot of folks have some artistic or creative activity they want to do more of, painting, for example. And instead of by the end of next week, I'm going to get those supplies tonight at 7 p.m. I'm going to sit down and order those supplies. Okay, next Saturday, I'm going to invite a friend to play pickleball. Okay, very specific, really, really helpful for accountability. So again, pick one to commit to. When will you do it? How will you do it? Who can help? And how will you hold yourself accountable? Okay, let's keep going. Performance. What are we talking about here? The strategy is identifying stressors to minimize and identifying performance boosters to maximize. So I'm going to share this framework again that I mentioned earlier to give you some ideas. Spiritual factors, physical, emotional, mental, environmental, social. Consider how you can eliminate or minimize some stressors now or in a new role, what you can look for in a new role that might minimize some stressors that you've experienced maybe in a past role. What's one thing you can commit to doing to minimize daily stress? That's another way to think of this. Okay. I'm going to say this again. And again, you can think about it the other way too, things that boost your performance. And I'll give you some examples to make this crystal clear. So, spiritual, we're actually talking about values and goals. It can be spiritual in the traditional sense too, but that's another way to think about this. So, I'll give you an example. Taking a job that feels like it's the next step to move your career forward. Maybe you have some ultimate vision. You want to be the GC of a big company. And so you're looking for an assistant GC role. That makes sense. But if that's your ultimate goal and you're leaving the legal field and taking a job in a totally different field with no relatable skills, it just sounds kind of fun. That might not be putting you on track. And day in, day out, you're going to be thinking about that. It's going to be stressing you out. Okay. So just a quick example of spiritual, physical. Of course, we're talking again about those fundamentals, taking care of yourself. I mentioned at the very beginning of the program, I have my water here. Always have to hydrate. I feel stressed and I don't perform at my best. I can't think clearly when I'm not hydrated. Same thing with my coffee. I don't have a lot, but I have 1 cup a day. Very, very important to make sure those things are in place so I'm performing at my best. Social's an interesting one too when we're thinking about work environments. I have certainly been a place in my life when I was having babies and I worked at the university. I just wanted to get in and get out and take care of my babies. And it was great. I could go in, I had tons of student appointments, so I did meaningful work. I killed it in that job, shut my door, and then went home and didn't take any of the work with me. That was perfect when it comes to social. On the other hand, now, as an entrepreneur working from home, I have a need to network. I need to be talking to other people doing what I'm doing day in and day out so that I maintain that social connection. My kids are in school, it's a little bit different. So our needs change also depending on whether you're an extrovert or introvert. But think about that. What type of socialization is good for you, leaves you feeling energized? Do you like working with a strong team? Do you like working on your own? Do you want to be in more of a quiet office? All of these things are important. Okay. So, again, we can come up with a list important for that next role if that's where you're at. And we can also think about day in and day out, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we boost performance? Are you working in an office with really poor lighting? And we want to boost our lighting. I know for me, when I don't have calls, I tend to work at my dining table because I have big floor to ceiling windows, tons of natural light. And I sit there and I focus better. Okay, just lots of little things that we can be thinking about. So let's sum up and then we'll do some Q&As. I know there's one more question in the chat. Thank you for waiting and being patient. So our summary here, what you are walking away with. Number 1, a list of gaps in valued living to address for greater fulfillment. And remember, you can use this list for evaluating future opportunities and also to start immediately filling those gaps. Number 2, strategies to manage your inner critic. How can you talk back to it as it comes up for you? Very important in the job search process. We want to make sure that you're going after opportunities, that you're not holding yourself back. Okay. Number 3, a commitment to increasing your engagement in one wellness or well-being activity, taking care of yourself through this process, and also sustaining your career success. And then number 4, a list of specific stressors to minimize for improved daily performance And again, to help you evaluate future jobs. Really, really helpful to think this through. What is the type of environment that I want to work in? Not just the job itself, but all those other things that really matter culturally. Okay. So if you would like, if you're open and feel comfortable sharing, I would love for you to write one of your commitments or strategies in the chat box. Better for accountability to put it out there. We're all here to hold you accountable and also hopefully to inspire your peers. And as folks are doing that, I'm also going to review this other question that's here. And please, we'll move on in just a minute to do a formal Q&A session as well and FAQs, because certainly some common questions come up. So we've got here, hello, I attempted to explain my transferable skills for a potential new employer. Recruiter only wanted to learn my direct experience. So first thing I would say, that was one experience. I am sorry that that happened. Maybe it felt like there was a mismatch there in communication, which certainly can be frustrating. Please, please keep in mind that not all recruiters or other opportunities will, you shouldn't have that same exact experience time and time again. Okay, so sometimes when I was talking about lots of different internal blocks we have, limiting thoughts that come up in our workplace, this is one of them. We call this an assumption, where something happened in the past and then we assume it's going to happen again. And so we don't even try. We want to make sure to pay attention to that. So please don't get discouraged. And I encourage you to be optimistic here that other folks will be a little bit more open. And also keeping in mind those recruiters, I know they're gatekeepers sometimes, and it's only one step of the process. So when we're networking, and then once you are interviewing, of course, with the actual employers, so important to explain the transferable nature of those skills when we're looking for very different opportunities. Your application materials can be an opportunity to do that too. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to move on here. If there are other questions, again, please share them in the chat. And as we wait for those to come in, Amy, if you have questions too, please. And
Yes.
then I also have some FAQs here if we need some extra questions.
So first of all, Emily, this was fantastic. I think these are the things that people need to hear. And there were a few things that struck me about what you talked about. A lot of this is about self-reflection and what you want, as opposed to these external pressures where people say, oh, you're a lawyer, you should be doing this, you should be doing that.
Yes.
Again, a lot of this is internal and really trying to figure out what you want, what you need. And by the way, I would encourage folks to contact Emily and you can talk about it a little bit more. So I think that's one of clearly her expertise. What I also liked, what you talked about, was the socializing and the connections with people for your own mental health and well-being. And that is something we stress here, that people, I think, underestimate that those connections. It really, studies have shown time and time again, connections is critical to one's mental health.
Yes.
I also wanted to mention, again, what was so interesting about water and hydration. And I think people, it's maybe some small things, but people don't understand. Sometimes if you are dehydrated, then you feel tired. You don't have that energy. So whether it's looking for that job or going on that interview, things like that, I think, again, the energy isn't there, which clearly can make a difference.
Yes.
And anyway, so I just wanted to chime in with those comments because,
Yes.
again, there were so many important pieces to it.
Well, thank you. And I want to say just on that last piece, I think it's so interesting how the legal industry now is talking about the programming that I offer, this type of programming. We're seeing CLEs pop up time and time again. And they're talking about the fact that taking care of yourself is a competency issue. And so, for example, with hydration, we don't think as clearly. We cannot
Yes.
make as conscious decisions, which is so important, of course, when you're doing really, really critical work, if we are not taking proper care of ourselves. Same thing with fresh air. I mean, I always say I help really, really smart people do really simple things. Okay. Because sometimes we're not taking a break and we're not stepping out. I know this. I come from this field. I used to sit on my butt for hours on end and fire off, finish up a memo and fire it off at 2 a.m. instead of sleeping, coming back to it after
Mhm.
my brain had recalibrated. I now know these things and have changed those habits. But really interesting to think about it as a competency issue, or just being able, like you're saying, to show up and maximize your likelihood of success with an interview or an important networking meeting. It's all really critical. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here by sharing a couple of FAQs, frequently asked questions that I get, that I'm guessing some of you might have in the back of your mind, but really, really important to cover. Number one, I don't know what path I want to take in the future. I cannot see past tomorrow. Guidance for making the right decision. I have curriculum on decision making, which is really, really interesting, but very, very quickly. Number one, value alignment. We already talked about that. A great way to make decisions. Pros and cons list. Again, simple, but we don't often do this. Like Amy was suggesting, self reflection. We've got to get these thoughts out of our head to another person verbally.
Mm.
That's what a coach is for, or at the very least, put them on paper. I've been talking a lot about this lately. The reason journaling is so valuable is because we can then see our thoughts from a more objective perspective. That is another essential function of coaching. You can do this to an extent yourself by putting thoughts down on paper and then looking them through. So I like to encourage pros and cons lists of different opportunities, or even staying or going. That's a common question in the legal field. And then look through your list and look for themes. What's popping up time and time again? What seems to be most important to you? And then a couple more kind of mindset shifts I want to offer here when considering new opportunities, but you don't know where to go. Be open to change. I think a lot of us are very fearful of change in itself. And yes, it is scary. It is going to be hard. There will be challenges with it, but you can handle them with proper planning. Okay. And then there is no single perfect path. I like to say it that way, or there are multiple perfect paths. This is my favorite idea to share with lawyers. Again, I think most of us want to identify the role and then go after it full force. I really encourage an alternative way of going about this. Consider multiple things that are in alignment with your values, your strengths, and your desired lifestyle, and then pursue all of them simultaneously. See what interests you and what pans out. Okay. Number two, I hear this a lot. Work-life balance feels impossible. Where do
Mm.
I even start? A couple of ideas here. Please, please do take that seriously about baby steps. So this is a mindset shift. Small changes count. They accumulate to a really big impact over time. So please consider small changes important. Also, conscious scheduling. I love to have folks make a daily list of all of the different things they're doing throughout the day. And first, starting with how you think you're spending your time, and then
Mm.
actually tracking and seeing where you were a little bit off. Maybe we don't realize we're scrolling for 2 hours before
Mm.
bedtime. That is not helpful, and we could be doing something more productive. Or maybe we realize we are, again, sitting, not moving for 5 hours, and we could be putting in a break there, a movement break. So, conscious scheduling, can really come up, again, simple exercise, but come up with some really interesting and helpful insights. And then the third common question here is being afraid to make special requests at work. And of course, this could go with a new job too, that it won't be received well. Of course, in an industry that is demanding and again expects excellence, we understand this and can expect long hours. So I always tell folks, determine your non-negotiables. So we're thinking about really the interview process. Think about your non-negotiables. How important is each of these things that you are requesting? What are you willing to compromise on versus what feels essential? So for me, there might be, I love working on my own. I'm very self-motivated. And there are some projects that I work on with the team when it's the right team. And I realize they energize me and it's certain interactions. I can do that. That makes sense. Okay. But non-negotiables, I have to, my husband travels from time to time. I have to be able to take my kids to school and pick them up. I just have to be able to. Yes, I could plan around that in theory if we wanted to go down that line of reasoning. I also have to be able to feed them dinner and put them to bed. Um, Different depending on your family situation, of course, but just to give you an example. So I am pretty strict with my hours. I do
Mm.
take 9 p.m. calls, by the way, for Pacific Coast people. That's my workaround there, but that is really important to me. So again, come up with those non-negotiables. And if they're so important to you, you make the ask and it's denied. That's okay, right? Because
Mhm.
we know you got to find another opportunity because it's a non-negotiable for you. This may require a longer conversation, but in essence, that's my perspective on that piece. Okay. So lots of content here. Hopefully, you have at least one strategy that you're really interested in pursuing. And I just want to encourage everyone to stay in touch. I told Amy this, but I wrapped up a free sessions campaign today, actually, and I am happy to open it back up for all of you. So I really encourage you to get your phone out and scan the QR code here. You can book a free session with me and get started in any of these four areas we covered today or any other topic that's related to career fulfillment, get you moving in the right direction. Of course, stay in touch. Here's a variety of ways. Email me if you'd like more resources. And I'm always happy to answer questions about today's program, too.
Emily, this was so wonderful. And I also think it's so generous of you to offer the free session. Again, I think you might get a lot of reach outs from this. And as a
Good.
reminder, again, it's on the screen, hirsekorncoaching.com. Also, just related to that comment or the question that the person made earlier about getting past that recruiter, I'm a big proponent of networking, and we will actually be doing a presentation on networking in July. So I encourage you to attend that particular session. And then also, you will be able to get the slides. We'll send that out with the recording. So for everybody that signed up today, you'll get the recording. And then it will be posted on our digital library in a few days. So again, if you want to review it then as well. And I just encourage people to continue to attend more sessions in this 8-week series. Emily, truly wonderful. It's about being happy and finding that fulfillment in your career. So this was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Um, so Emily, fantastic.
Good.
You're such a great speaker. You're so easy to follow, speak well, slowly, again, really, really great. And I hope you get some business from it. So that's the goal. And anyway, so if you're okay sharing your slides, what we usually
Yes, of
do is we
course.
send out that recording with the slides so people can review them. And if they didn't get a chance to take notes, they'll have that
Yes,
there.
exactly. I love that idea. And I'll send you a PDF as soon as we get off the call. So that's
Great.
simple for you to share.
Okay.
And the timing couldn't have been better. Like I said, that campaign that I just ran, I did 40 free sessions, and it's it's interesting because of course some folks are looking for a coach and some business comes out of it, and some folks I'm thrilled to be able to support where it's not accessible. Coaching is too expensive. They're
Yeah.
maybe early career or just haven't budgeted for it. They're in a tight spot, they're out of work, and so it's a really
Mm,
cool way to make coaching more accessible. And I don't know. It's been a really good, I do it every year, and it's been a really good opportunity to meet a variety of folks too, which is
yeah.
always fun.
Yeah. That was so thank you. We did end up having, I saw the participants clicking up. So
Yes.
sometimes they can't start with us right at the very moment. But, again, Friday afternoon, Memorial Day week, but I think it ended up, I was glad to see people joining
Yeah.
shortly.
Yes. And we had
So,
questions, which is always wonderful. I
yeah.
know people come to these things like ready, certain people come and really want information that's specific to their situation. So I always encourage that. Thank you for this
Thank you.
opportunity.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful
Yes.
weekend.
Thank you.
All right. We'll continue to promote you. All
All
right.
right. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.